Okay, let's talk about placing items. We've in the last class, hopefully you've watched the video, but we've talked about how to simply place items, and we're going to do that again just real quick for a refresher. You can see I have a document here. I'm going to select my hand tool so we can move around. I have a document that has some type on it and has a frame that I can put some graphics in. Then I have kind of already laid out a bunch of text and a bunch of graphic frames so that I can quickly place stuff. So I do this a lot in layout, so I know, okay, I'm going to have these pictures here, and I'm going to have this text here, so that I can kind of get a pretty good layout pretty quickly and know how much text I need in these areas, because that's really most of the time when you're doing print and stuff, what's important is how much text is here. It's usually easier to find an image. So this is my little document. Let's first place this big image up here. So just like we did before, we're going to go to File, Place, and I'm going to go up to this lesson and go place this tree there. So in this dialog box you find the image you want, where it lives, and you click on it, and then you click Open. Now if you're actually selected on the frame, it'll actually load right into that frame. If you're not selected on the frame, you'll get exactly what I got. You'll get the image that's loaded into your cursor. So this is letting you know that you can place this image that's on your cursor anywhere to any frame that it has this big X through it. So I just click on it and it drops that image in that frame. So I'm going to undo that real quick, and just to illustrate the point, I'm going to click on my my selection tool, the black arrow, click on my frame, and if I do a File, Place, and click on the tree, you'll notice instead of loading into my cursor, it loads into that frame. So it's kind of like Photoshop. Whatever you're selected on does affect what things you're doing. So just know that if it's not working, if it's not loading into your cursor, like I'm showcasing here. So either way, for this example, for loading one thing in is not a problem. Let's fix this. I'm going to change to my selection tool, or my direct select tool, the white arrow, so I can shrink this image down. I'm going to come over here to scale proportionally and fit to frame width, and you can see my image hangs off the page a little bit, which is perfect. That, I don't really care about that too much. I'm just going to scoot it up in that so we kind of see the bottom of the tree at the bottom of our page. Perfect. Okay, so I like that. So I'm just going to select my direct select, or my selection tool, the black arrow, and now we have a good cover for our journal. Now I normally would have probably adjusted this image a little bit, so in Photoshop I would have adjusted it and put it in a separate folder. So just know where your images are, and InDesign can actually import more than just JPEGs, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But first let's talk about, I'm going to scroll down to this other section of my journal that I have kind of laid out, and I want to load these 4 images. And I kind of want to pick up the pace because I want to load these 4 images all at the same time. And this is really easy to do. You just go up to File, go to Place, and then I'm going to select multiple files from this window. Instead of just selecting one, I'm going to select multiple things. So let me hit cancel here. The first thing is you want to make sure you're not selected on anything. So just to be sure I'm not selected on anything, I can click out here in the blank area and make sure I'm not selected on anything. Because if you're selecting on something, it won't actually load. It'll try and load all 4 images into the one frame, and that's not what we want to do. So let's go up to File, do Place now, and I'm going to click on the first one just like we normally would. And here's the trick. If I click and hold Control, so I'm going to push the Control button on the keyboard, and then click the mouse, and then let go of Control, you can see now I've selected 2 images. And you can see down here in the file name, I have 2 different images. So now, if I were to place this, if I were to click Open, I would have 2 images I'm placing. Well, if you remember in that layout, I have 4 boxes that I want to fill. So let's select 4 images. So just as easy as selecting 2, I can scroll down with my vertical bar here, and I can click on this image. So I'm going to hit Control and then click, and then hit Control and click. Now if you accidentally forget to hit Control and you click on the next image, let's say we wanted to get the dune buggy in there, and you clicked and you forgot to hit Control, you can see it only selects that one dune buggy. And kind of on a similar note, if you have two things selected and you want to deselect one, you could Control click it again and it will deselect it. That's really useful if you have, let's say you have all these things selected and you want to just deselect the dune buggy. You wouldn't have to go through here and select them all again. You can just hold the Control button down, click your mouse, let go of your mouse, hit let go of the Control button, and now you've deselected that. Okay, so let's get the actual 4 images that we want. So we want to use those two, and we want to use these two. Okay, I'm going to click Open, and you'll see it'll take a second, and it will load all my images into my cursor, and you can see that's a little different. There's the red Jeep, and right next to the cursor there's a 4 in parentheses. So that's letting us know there's 4 images that are loaded into memory, and we can place those 4 images in any one of these squares we want. And how this works is if you want to scroll through these, so say you don't know where these things go. So you're like, what images do I have, loaded into my cursor? You hit the, not holding any other keys, you just tap the left arrow or the right arrow on your keyboard, and it scrolls through for you. So let's say I want to put the ranger talking to the kids and the motorcycles up here. I just scroll to it, click on that, and then I'll put the rock crawling here, and I want to put the helicopter at the bottom. I could just click down here and then click back up, or I could use my arrow keys and click and click. So you can see real quick, I now have a layout that looks really good in really minutes. You set up the text, you set up the frames, you plop in your pictures that hopefully have already been corrected in Photoshop, and you're good to go. So it really can make this a really quick process, and if this is something you got to crank out before a school group gets there or something. So the last thing I want to show you is actually loading other types of files, and it's the same process as placing any other type of file, but I just want to show you what you can do. So let's actually try under a ranger's job here, let's put our postcard that we did back, I think it was in session 2, if you can remember back that far. So I'm going to go to File, Place, just like I did all the other times. I'm going to use my up arrow and find that folder that we had that postcard in. And so you can see I get a big PS file, PSD, but it's only showing importable files. So if it's not importable, it wouldn't show it here. And you can also see that I get a little preview down here, which is kind of nice. And if I wanted to select multiple things, I could use my Control button and select multiple PSDs and load them in just the same way. So Illustrator InDesign can take in any files, Illustrator files, Photoshop files. It can even take in other InDesign layouts. So the Place tool is a really powerful tool. We're only scratching the surface on what this tool can really do. So let's say we wanted to place this. We click Open. We drop it down here, and you can see this loads in probably not the ideal way, not exactly what we want. So I'm going to show you just a quick way to maneuver this, and that frame was pretty close to what I wanted or what I thought I wanted. So I'm going to click on my Direct Select tool, the white tool. I'm going to click on the image, which is my postcard. It looks like just an image now because you can't see anything else. So I'm going to fit this proportionally, and so it will hang out of the frame. You can see it gets cropped by the frame over here. So now what I'm going to do is I like that general size, so I'm going to make the frame this size as the image. So I'm going to, instead of coming in here and going to my selection tool and clicking on the frame and dragging it out and trying to make it perfect, what I'm actually going to do is go up here with, you can either do this with the frame selected or with the picture selected. You can go up to this tool next to that shrink image proportionally. You can change the frame to fit your image. And this is, so for something like this, I use these two buttons in Chorus a lot, where I get it close to what I want, and then I change the frame, and as soon as I click on that, the frame's that exact size. So then all I do is, center it or do whatever, I put it wherever I want to put it, and now you can see we have that PSD loaded in here quite nicely, and we can really start using this layout pretty quickly, which has been really good. So the place tools can be used for a lot of things. Play with it, experiment with it, and one thing I'm not showing you that the place tool can be used for, you can actually use the place tool for text. You can place Word documents. So that's kind of an advanced thing. I'll try and get to that on the advanced class session, the last session. But if I don't get to that, look it up. There's a bunch of places online and in our book that talk about that.